Hi, and welcome to the Imperfect podcast. My name is Deb Crow, and I will be your host. Join me on this journey as we meet heart-centered leaders from all over the globe. Lots of interesting questions, interesting conversation, and find out what makes a leader. How do they handle uncertainty and complexity? How do they lead in a time that is volatile? Join us. Welcome back to Imperfect, the Heart-Centered Leadership podcast. And I'm really delighted today to interview Laurie Walker. I've known Laurie for many decades, and let me tell you a little bit about her. Laurie is a senior executive with over 25 years of experience. She has led accident benefit claims departments and third-party administration at some of the largest independent insurance firms in Canada. Laurie is a turnaround expert. She is known as the fixer. She's sought after to resolve long-term issues, dysfunctional departments, broker-driven client programs, and assess personnel by rethinking conventional solutions, streamlining operations, and implementing best practices. Laurie is recognized as an industry thought leader, a keynote speaker, a provincial trainer, and she's been retained by the Insurance Institute of Ontario to conduct open training sessions across the province when new automotive legislation is adopted. She's an approved expert witness in the Superior Court of Ontario, and she is regularly engaged to sit on arbitration panels and often retained by legal counsel to provide an opinion about claim file handling. She's the former editor-in-chief of the Ontario Insurance Adjusters magazine, WP, Without Prejudice, and a frequent author of numerous articles for insurance magazines in the industry. So Laurie, welcome to the show.
Awesome, thank you for having me.
Well, I've always looked up to you, and I said this to you before we hit the record button. I've always found you to be such a strong female leader in the insurance world, and you do it with such heart-centered traits. So I'm excited to ask you some leadership questions. So are you ready?
Well, I am. I hope I have some heart-centered answers for you.
I know you will. So my first question is, you made a decision to have a career in the insurance sector. And my question is, did you have a mentor who intrigued you to work within the scope of risk management?
That's a really good question because, as you know, and probably everyone can attest, no one in the insurance industry, particularly in the claims side, ever thought when they were young that they were growing up and that what did they want to be? No one ever said they wanted to be an insurance adjuster or in the insurance field. So everyone in the industry sort of falls into their job and is either successful or makes do. And in my case, I was very fortunate. I landed into a very small company in my hometown, and then kind of progressed to other companies in local cities. But early on, I was always impressed with this lady. Her name is Carmen Grigg. She's long since retired, but she was at the time the VP of underwriting for a small company, Anglo Canada, and which is now part of the Intact Group. And but she was one of the very first female executives that I'd ever seen. And she was and became the very first female CEO of an insurance company in Canada. And she was, striking grace, but was always very direct. So I kind of took a page out of what she did, and she always had time to answer questions and motivate you and spark your interest in ways that you never even would imagine. So I guess my short answer is I did have a mentor, and it was a female leader. And I think you know, in my own mind, I always strove to be, you know, in her shadow or in her grace, and always follow her lead in the way she took on projects, the way she interacted with her colleagues, the way she interacted with clients. And what I came to learn is, you know, there are two faces that you have. There's the professional face, but just a shade off to that is your own personality that will always shine through, and your own characteristics. And it's about amplifying the great characteristics and knowing when to put the ones that aren't so graceful into your pocket, and, you know, use them when you need them, but, you know, learning how to adapt to that environment. So yeah, I did have a mentor that really helped me early in my career.
Well, it's a beautiful story, and I can certainly see how Carmen has fostered that in you, and watching your trajectory over the last 2.5 decades. So we all need a mentor. So what a lovely memory for you.
And it, you know, it's hard to say it, 2.5 decades. It feels like yesterday.
Right?
It does. It
Well,
really does.
we were so young when we started. So there you go.
That must be it.
So my second question, I asked all my guests because I truly believe we all have imperfections. What imperfections, Laurie, do you feel you bring to your heart-centered leadership?
I think one of my, you know, it depends on who's asking that question for me. If you ask my executive colleagues or my senior leadership that I've worked with, my imperfections are, you know, I'm fairly bold. I take a very aggressive approach because I know in my heart of hearts that the job can get done efficiently, um, close to perfection. I always strive for that. And I, you know, I realize it's a lofty goal, but I know that if a team can do something together, I know that the job can get done efficiently, with pleasure, and give satisfaction to colleagues, and successfully, you know, be whatever the client and whatever the project might be, attain the goals. But I move very fast and I move very rapidly. My mind is, I feel like my mind sometimes is, you know, 3 weeks down the road. I'm always anticipating what's going to be next, and preparing and over preparing. And for colleagues that are not used to that at that senior leadership level, that can be kind of a scary, you know, too bold of a move, too rapid of a change. So one of my imperfections is I have to learn sometimes where their thought process is, and sort of coach them along and allow them to see the data, or allow them to see the steps so that they can catch up with me. And I don't mean to say that they're lagging behind. It's just that my thinking sometimes, and the way I look at a project or the way I look at a goal, is completely different than what the past has done. And I find that that's one of my biggest imperfections, is I'm able to adapt to things a lot faster than perhaps colleagues are. And I have to sometimes wait for them, or reassess, or go back and sort of bring them along to the same line of thinking that I see, or the vision that I can see. Sometimes clarity for me is 20/20, and for them, it's a little bit off. So that's one of my imperfections, because I have many.
Well, and what you just described is one of the ways I think I would describe you, and you are that vivid visionary. And I think sometimes when you have that gift of being an independent and effortless thinker, you're able to see the outcome, and, you know, come back into reality and know what discipline and structure you need to achieve to get there. And like you said, we all have different ways of thinking and habits of thinking. So good for you for taking on the coaching role to bring your colleagues kind of into that same space. That's interesting, and it leads so nicely into my next question. I know that you have been given and labeled and coined the fixer,
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite shows on Netflix. So I'm gonna coin you the Olivia Pope of the insurance industry.
Okay.
I truly believe, though, that this represents how amazing you are as a heart-centered leader, and the communication skills that you have. And I know that you have written and used the cliche, treat others the way you want to be treated. Share with us how you learned and developed and really honed those heart-centered leadership skills.
Well, I come from a humble background, to be quite honest with you. I grew up on a small tobacco farm, and it was a very labor-intensive family business. We did it together. There was no, hired help per se for certain functions until it got to harvest time. And so we worked closely with our parents, and we worked closely with, those people. And one of the things that my father imparted on me was, no matter what you do, I don't know what career you're going to have. I don't know whether you'll even have one, but always remember to treat others the way you want to be treated. And if you can do that, that's half the battle. So I took that with me when I did, when I started out in claims adjusting, when I was dealing with those people who had a house fire or were in a terrible car accident. You walk the mile in their shoes, and you think, how would you want to be treated? Because ultimately, you do have to deliver bad news. There will always be a day where you have to deliver bad news, but how you deliver that news is either going to make you a success or not, to a certain degree. There are people who go through the motions of doing the job, but then there are people who do the job, do it extremely well, and hit it out of the park, because not everybody is going to be happy with the end result, but they'll always say, but I was treated with respect, and I was treated fairly, and I understand why this has happened. So taking it, moving it forward, take that simple concept and then move that into an executive role. And, when I first became an executive, I took on a team and a role that I had absolutely no experience at, none. So the first thing I had to do was trying to learn. And, most mistakes are made when someone goes in and they pretend that they know what they're doing. And then, the colleagues that are reporting to that individual can recognize that. They know, they understand. So what I did was I fell on the sword and I said, hi, everybody. This is new to me. I've been asked to lead this team, but I'm going to sit with all of you, and you're going to tell me everything that's wrong, everything that's right, what it is that we're supposed to do. And then I'm going to go back to the contracts, and I'm going to go back to management. But I think by doing that, I earned a little bit of their respect. And then when I came to make my decisions, and, because ultimately you now take into consideration what that person has to go through every day. And you understand, oh, there's an equipment need, there's a technology need, there's a social need, there's a, or you understand some of the issues between diversity and all of the different traits that come along with the things that other people have to work with. And you understand that inclusivity, it means including the executive management and including some empathy in what you do. So it's really, really important for me. And it's been a good working tool for me to always put myself in there and treat those people the way that I would want to be treated. And I think that helps the department, whatever the goal, whatever the project, whatever the team. If you can work together as a one big machine, everybody's a cog in that wheel. That wheel's not going to go around if a cog is missing or it's broken. So I go in and I fix that cog, and that wheel starts to go around. I used to say, I got all four tires spinning in the same direction now. Now we're getting traction. Now we can move forward. So that's the way it's helped me.
And that's why you're the fixer. I love it.
That's why I'm the fixer.
And you know what? We have something in common. So I worked 2 summers as a teen on a tobacco farm. So I know that hard work and those hot mornings. And I think it does build tenacity and grit, and you have no choice. You know what the workload is. And I think it's fostered your leadership because you again see that end goal and you know what you need to do. But what I love the most about your answer, Laurie, is you always put the value on the connection with people first. And I think that's how you've earned the fixer title.
Well, in this business, particularly in the insurance claims industry, or even in the insurance industry, we don't produce a product. We don't make a widget and we sell it. We sell service, and the claims people are the ones that deliver that service. And you can have great service and you can have bad service. And, you know, the way that the team operates and the way that your philosophy is drifted out, that's all part of it, right? And, you know, you have that philosophy, and that will shine through the service that you give.
100%. And the sector doesn't matter. It's again, it's that connection with people and coming back to a simple generational value that was imparted by your dad. When we treat others the way we want to be treated, we'll never go wrong.
Right, absolutely.
Now, my last leadership question is, I know that you're a volunteer with the Young Insurance Professional Organization in Toronto, Ontario. What
Mhm.
advice would you offer to someone younger who's considering a career in the insurance industry, or even looking to embrace the proverbial climb up the corporate ladder?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because what I'm finding now that was different when I started in you know, after graduating my education, was I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I kind of fell into things. That's not happening now. What I'm finding now is that there's a true recruitment effort of whether it's insurance company level or otherwise, or related efforts. They're getting into the colleges, they're getting into high schools, and they're doing recruits, and they're identifying people early, and then they're courting those people. So those people already have some idea when they start into the industry. They've already got some ideas of what it is that they're entering. And, you know, for me, I had to learn basic skills. People entering now, when they're 20 years old, they have so many more skills than we did when we started. And when I talk to my colleagues that are at this program, or, you know, with this association, I've always encouraged them to, you know, use your new skills that you bring to the table, because the old people like us, or the senior seasoned people, lack those skills. We lack the technology. We don't know what we don't know. So once you understand and immerse yourself, I've encouraged them, put up your hand, ask the question, and say, have you thought about it this way? And this tool or that tool or this, because that is something that is brand new and a breath of fresh air. Certainly on the IT side of things, that's an evolving process, and most teams are already well working, you know, with new concepts, but not on the old adage side of the business, whether it's selling at broker level, whether it's risk inspection, whether it's claims, whether it's underwriting. Those pieces are quite lagging behind, and those management teams need that young breath of fresh air with these new crisp ideas. And it's great. And what I encourage when I have a young individual and I know where they work, I will make the phone call over to, you know, team lead over there and say, listen, you know, this is what I've recognized in this individual. And they start to mentor and partner individually within their organization. And I think it's a great way to have the young people engaged, but have them offer meaningful vision for efficiency, for success of service, whether it's attaining the goals, whatever the project might be. They have so much more to bring to the table. And I think it's encouragement just to have them put up their hand once they recognize that, hey, there might be a different solution to this. And, you know, and I think that there's encouragement now for those ears to open up and listen to that.
Well, I love that. And it just fosters and mentors leadership around inclusion. And like you said, when we pool our ideas, so many different strategies can unpack and unfold, and a different set of eyes always brings a different perspective. So what a nice way to mentor, and I can see why you are aligned with that organization. I like to end the podcast, Laurie, with what I call the Fab Four. And these are 4 fun questions. Just going to rapidly fire them at you, and you let us know what's sitting on the top of your mind. Are you
Oh
ready?
boy. Okay.
Okay, question number 1. What inspires Laurie?
Oh gosh. I have so many inspirations. What inspires, you know, I really enjoy listening to female leaders tell me about themselves or tell me about their struggles. Like, I really appreciated Michelle Obama's book that she wrote, and the inspiration that you take from, I thought she was a political monster, like in a sense before. And then I read her book and it's a completely different take. So I like suspense and the twist and the change when someone tells me their story. So from that perspective, I think female leaders or, someone in the female sort of top of mind or top stories that are emerging, I like listening to their stories.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things too, and that was a good book. So again, I join you in that. The wins are important, but the struggles are more inviting to read and make it so relatable.
I know. She's great.
My second question, what word would you give to the year 2020 and why?
Mm. I think adaptation is the word of 2020. I think we've all come to learn that life has to adapt and evolve, that we have to change and adapt not only our personal lives and our living space and our outdoor space and our workspace, our social space, like every aspect of your life has undergone some form of adaptation this year. Good, bad, or ugly. We've had to do it whether we've liked it or not.
Absolutely. Next question, what is your favorite memory from your career?
I think my favorite memory was probably the year that I was president of the Ontario Insurance Adjusters Association. That was 2008/2009. And I was I was connected. I was connected in every sense of the word. I was not yet at senior leadership level, although I was, progressing towards that, and I was very close. But I was still at that, I was still mainstream of all my colleagues across the province. And I felt really connected to them. And I felt like I could make a huge wave of change if I really needed to, or I could make impact to both industry and to people's lives and to inspire them.
That's beautiful. And my last question is, Laurie Walker, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy, I think, is really for people to look back and remember ways in which I entered their lives in a sense of, did I help them? Laurie helped me do this, or Laurie helped me do that. I always like helping people. And I love it when somebody comes up to me that I haven't seen in 10 years and somebody says, you remember that time and you helped me do this? Because it's a great story and it makes me feel good. And they seem to have a smile. So I hope it makes them feel good too.
Well, hence me reaching out to have you on the Heart-Centered Leadership podcast, because I've always looked up to you. I think you're an amazing female leader and you do get the job done, but you do it with heart-centered leadership. So it was lovely to see you today and chat to you. And I want to wish you continued success and thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. And I appreciate that. That's really very thoughtful to say. And I enjoyed the podcast today. So best wishes and good luck.
Thank you. I like to end the podcast with a list of 5 things that I believe help us live a purposeful life. Follow your heart, have passion, do your best, know your truth, and always remember to be in love with the journey. This is Deb Crow. Thanks again for tuning in to Imperfect, the Heart-Centered Leadership podcast.